I feel like this is a good shot, too.
Twin in.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's very sweet of you.
When people have known each other for a long time and they start doing the same gestures.
Well, how long has it been now, by the way?
5 years.
Yeah.
Wow. That's
5
wild.
years. Maybe, no, not more than five.
Yeah, but yeah.
Actually, 5 this issue.
Yeah.
Well, let's start with where the pair of you are both from.
Sure. I grew up in Philadelphia originally. I moved here in the early 2000s to study photography and design, and really fell in love with the city and everything that I could discover around that time, because I think it was such a vibrant time to move to New York, to move here for college, to really to be inspired by the art scene, the music scene, the creative scenes. And really publishing in general.
I grew up in London. I still live in London. I got into fashion by studying design at St. Martin's, but I think what really drew me into fashion was being a club kid. I used to go to all the clubs, and I used to then work in shops to get the discount to have the clothes to wear to the clubs, because there was very much fashion focused in the 90s. Then I got into styling and assisted a few very amazing stylists like Venetia Scott, and then started out on my own and started building my freelance career. And I guess I was global fashion director of ID magazine, and then when I left, I met Nick, and I think Nick came to me asking me who I thought would be good to work at the magazine as fashion director, and I gave some suggestions, and then one
Were
day
you amongst the initial list?
Well, no, because I think at that point I'd already said that I wasn't really into working at a magazine again. And so, but then one day Nick just phoned me up in the evening and went, I'd really love you to do it. Would you do it? And I was like, yeah. And then that was it.
Why at that point were you no longer interested with the idea of going back to a magazine?
I think it's a lot of work. It's a lot of time. I mean, I give so much of my time and dedication to document, and, you know, it's an ongoing process, but I have a freelance career as well. And, you know, I contribute to magazines like British Vogue, and at the time I was doing another magazine, an ID, and different magazines, and it takes a lot of time and work and dedication that you need to commit to.
Of course.
So it was only how much I love document that I was willing to do it again, really.
And obviously there's a dynamic that exists between the pair of you, regardless of having come from two very different points. How would you describe that synergy? And are there ever moments where you're maybe not in agreement with something that you want to do for the issue?
You know, I think that we both come from very complementary backgrounds. My background being much more in art and photography, and Sarah's being much more in fashion. But I think that we especially approach fashion and ideas and image making from a very
conceptual point
of view, not just from fashion or not just from art, but it could be from culture, science, politics. It's really the world around us. And I think that that's one of the things that really drew us together, was that we could have a conversation about fashion or art, but we would talk about current affairs or politics. And it really informs us.
Yeah, it's true.
So how would you break down the kind of ratio of the magazine then, in terms of what role fashion plays versus art, culture, X, Y, and Z?
I don't think we think of it like that. It's more about brilliant ideas and incredible contributors and bringing them together into one world, whether that's art, fashion, culture, politics.
How would you then break down the differences in what you guys sort of each spearhead separately as two heads of the magazine?
You know, I think so much about the magazine is about giving all of our contributors and each of us a lot of respect and autonomy in what we do.
Freedom.
So I think that there really is a lot of creative freedom. Sarah oversees the fashion and obviously has a hand in everything in the magazine. It's not siloed off, and I think it's really important that both as creative leaders of the magazine, we know what's going on across everything.
Because one feeds off the other. One of the features that really inspired me was about the modern utopias, people going out of society. And I know that made me think about creating content for the fashion and the online ideas. I think it was very inspiring and led to thinking about sustainability and visuals that were more organic and more raw.
And just to answer your question in a very literal sense, the magazine is half fashion, and the other half is are features. The first part of the features are conversation series, every issue where we have 8 profiles and conversations with people from all walks of life, be it fashion, art, politics, which we keep coming back to, philosophy, science. It's really important for me that it represents the world around, not even just the creative community in New York or London or Paris or major cities, but it's really global. And then we have our feature well, where we tackle ideas of technology, science, evolution, and then we have our artist portfolio section where we invite artists to present a new or unseen series of work. Oftentimes it's new and made for the magazine. Sometimes it's archival or it's from the estate of an artist who's no longer living. But we want to present that in the same way that we present art, features, or conversations or fashion. It's all exclusive for the magazine.
And do you feel like there are particular pros and cons when it comes to being a biannual publication versus something monthly or bi-monthly?
Gives us time to make it the most full and enriched content that we can make it, rather than rushing to get anything in. As Nick said, some of the contributors, they're very hard to get your hands on, the artists or photographers or writers, and we rather give the time to include them in the magazine than rush it just to have a deadline.
Yeah.
I think that there's a couple of things about a biannual that I find really engaging critically, culturally. One, it allows us to really develop ideas and to start with a few ideas and then let those evolve throughout the season and then add a couple of other ideas towards the end that we feel rounded out. It also allows us distance. As we're producing stories, we can take a look at, revisit casting, revisit imagery, re-edit, and do things in a way that really that does feel like it slows down the pace a bit. Of course, we have our digital team and we focus a lot on daily content, but in terms of the print biannual, it really gives us a moment to slow down.
And I think the whole ethos is giving to people time to slow down and to think, and to feel and to enjoy and connect.
So when you guys are in the commissioning process, is it a little bit of a carte blanche you're giving these teams, or are you coming to them with an idea? How does that work?
I think it really depends on the team, and it's almost the same teams season after season. And it's really, for us, it's very much a family. And it's a constant dialogue between their vision, our vision, the structure of the issue. But I think it's important to both give a structure, but also give freedom to all of our contributors. Oftentimes we're coming to the contributors because we like what they do, and we don't want them to do something else. So I think that's really important to give them that respect.
I say from my perspective on the fashion, everything feels so limited now that you can never do your best. Even sometimes the best image is a cut that you love from a story. So there's something really important to give the team creative freedom to not cut an image because we feel it hasn't got a credit, to kind of give them a page that's maybe a still life or even a landscape across a double page, to create a pace in a magazine that becomes more, it becomes more genuine.
I know you're big on casting. How important is that to the whole project?
I love casting. It's hard for me because I see beauty in so many different forms of people, and I think that's one thing I would say is that we don't have a particular vision of casting. It's just people that are unique, beauty that's unique, allowing people the freedom to bring in their own ideals of beauty that wouldn't necessarily be mine or Nick's. Whether it's different cultures, whether it's unusual beauty that other magazines wouldn't allow in their pages. We actually think it pushes boundaries, and I guess actually that's really important for us, that we push boundaries. Maybe it's not even seen, but for us, when we look at everything, we're definitely trying to push boundaries.
And I think it's also not being afraid of giving someone their first cover, their first 30-page story when they've never been shot before, and really trusting instincts and trusting the vision of all of our contributors.
And you guys have also recently moved more into the exploration of the beauty space.
Yeah, I'm very happy to say that we've recently joined forces with Lucia Peroni, who's joined us as our beauty director.
Lucia is someone that I've known for a long time, that I've always respected. I think she's one of the most incredible makeup artists in history. She has something that's so creative but quick. When you work with her, she can create a whole beauty look in 5 minutes, and you're like, where did that come from? You know, and sometimes beauty can, like hair, can make an image.
And I think that the idea of beauty has always been involved in the vision of documents since it started 8 years ago. I think we've always been very curious to look for beauty in the world around us, whether it's literal or more philosophical or a metaphor.
For sure.
And I think that the idea of beauty is often thought of as one directional. And I think for us, it's very much for looking at rawness in beauty and looking for the unexpected beauty or the
unusual beauty. The beauty in the unexpected. The beauty in the world around us, the beauty in words, the beauty in everything, really. I think that's a big ethos as well.
Well, I think that so much of the magazine is about wanting to dream and wanting to inspire, but also wanting to do that in ways that are well-rounded and really reflect the world around us.
Well, I guess maybe what we discussed earlier even is the society that we live in today is fast-paced, but it's very self-obsessed. You know, everything's retouched. There's no reality. Young girls now have filters on their cameras, and they continuously put up selfies, so you don't really know the woman within, which I think is quite sad.
Yeah.
And I think for us, it's really important to show a truth, and there's a poetry, and that's where we sit, I think, as well. An important thing that I would say is that document is very Arthurian in terms of that we all sit together and we communicate and we pass on ideas, but that everyone has to be like-minded in this kind of freedom. We can't be stuck or literal, and otherwise the magazine wouldn't be how it is. And I think Lucia is the perfect person to take on that role, because she has the same way of seeing fashion.
That's perfect.
Yeah. I also think it's interesting because, you know, the idea that you want to operate at a round table that's made up of people who are like-minded, it sounds quite sort of community-driven, and, you know, there's something very beautiful about that. But at the same time, you know, within a creative space, there's always that tension or that friction or that sort of example of your differences that
It
collectively
pushes.
amount to something.
We push each other.
Absolutely. Do you find that to ever sort of come up in this very democratic process that you guys work from? Are there ever those disagreements?
Of course, sometimes people will come in, I would say, that have come into the magazine that have a different way of seeing things and come in with their own agendas that doesn't work, and they don't last for long. Sorry, I don't mean that in a bad way. Dictator.
I know, I'm like, Nick. Yeah, exactly. I figured.
No, but you need to have the democracy to work with us.
I think that the idea of a modern magazine hierarchy, democracy, is really important, because I think that we've all been in the industry long enough and work with different types of structures and see what works and what doesn't. And I think for us, there is a very organic process to that democracy. I think it is important to listen to everyone's voices and to figure out how that fits into the conversation and the structure. Because I think at the same time that Sarah and I lead the vision of the magazine, it also is it's a group of people. It's a group of voices and a group of like-minded ideas, or not like-minded. And that's, I think, it's about giving all of those voices a platform to be heard. Yeah.
You know, we bounce ideas. We want people to bounce ideas for us, but not to kind of have any ego where, you know, they're pushed back on something for the wrong reasons.
And I think that we both get inspired by people who push us in a way. And I think we push each other. And I think at the end of the day, all we have is our relationships with each other. And I think that that's really beautiful to build a community of people that motivate each other, and I think that's really a special quality that we look for.
And if we haven't got a connection, there's nothing. The magazine needs the connection within our team to kind of bring the vast amounts of work and be dedicated to spend the time and the hours to make it the beautiful, publication that it is.
No, it's true. Well, also, I think that a lot of magazines are understanding, or rather trying to understand, how it is they can provide new space for a brand to exist within a story. And a lot of that has taken shape in the form of video content. So I was curious as to whether or not that was something that you guys were exploring at Document.
Yeah, definitely.
It is. I think I think all of the tools at our disposal should be used. If it's video, if it's print, if it's interviews like we're doing now, if it's different types of live events, experiences. I think that we're very excited about creating a world to live within and to pull in disparate elements, cultural elements, touchstones, touch points. And I think that we really get excited when we're working with our advertisers and our partners to help tell their stories through our eyes. And I think that if nothing else, I would love for Document to be thought of as a salon, that it's a place where ideas can come together that are, you probably wouldn't find all of these things in one magazine elsewhere. And it's a place for discovery, and it's a place to pull together disparate ideas.
It's a beautiful explanation.
It is.
It's very 360, yeah.
I don't have nothing to add to that. I think it's
Yeah,
perfect.
I'm kind of like, all right, and the mic is dropped. Well, also, I guess, having said all of that, it seems rather redundant to then ask what the kind of future looks like at the title, or where it is you guys want to see the ecosystem of the magazine evolve over the next 5 to 10 years, because it sort of seems like you're living it in a very kind of real-time, live, organic process.
Yeah, I think we want to be an agile media company that can react to the world around us, if it's new technologies or if it's new social media platforms. But we also don't want to be swayed so much by that. We don't want to change our voice. I think it's very important that we are very steady and true to our vision. And to your point about video or other different types of technology, I think it comes back to the heart of Document, which I think is very much about bringing all these different voices together. And it's less, it doesn't change a lot through time. There's a steadfastness to it.
But at the same time, we're not stuck in some kind of past. We want to move forward, whether that's with technology, whichever is going to be thrown at us in the world. We want to move with the times.
Well, again, that's the luxury of being independent, right? Is it affords you the ability to be quite nimble in your process and agile in whatever pivots you
And not
feel
literal.
make sense. Yeah, absolutely.
And not myopic. And that's why some publications have fallen apart. It's so myopic, their vision, that if the times move and things change, that they've got nowhere to go. They've boxed themselves in. And I think we definitely think outside the box.
Well, also all of the
process.
changes that you're referring to, change represents possibility, right?
Yeah,
I mean, every time
absolutely,
that
which is exciting. It's life.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I think each time you see an industry as a whole, whatever industry it might be, shaken up in the same way that ours has been recently, it kind of puts all the balls back up in the air. And it really gives
Which
a lot
you
of
can grab.
Absolutely, I think
And
it shifts the
include.
entire dynamic of market share and who's really leading those conversations.
Yeah.
Thank you both.
Yeah, thank you.
It's
No, I mean, I loved it.
I love
I
it. I love the conversation between us as well. I think it's important.